Hi there, this is Jen Max at RE/MAX. In Arizona, the spring real estate market is in full swing. Over the next several months, thousands of buyers and sellers will be connecting and exchanging property for money. This is an exciting time. But for sellers, there's the question, how am I going to get buyers to look at my property? According to the National Association of Realtors in a 2018 study, 93% of all buyers are seeing the properties they eventually purchase online. That's an amazing statistic. But that also means, how good does your property look in the photographs? And for sellers, does your property have curb appeal? To answer this real important question, I turn to a landscape design expert, Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing great, Jen.
So tell me a little bit about your business. What's the name of the company?
The name of the company is Colorscapes, and I am a gardener. I have a passion for gardening, and I love to help people select the right plants for their home and add a lot of color. I mostly focus on flowers and pots and even some garden beds.
Okay. So what about things like permanent plantings, like bushes and trees? Are you dealing with those as well?
I don't do that right now, but I'm not saying that I wouldn't do that, but I mostly specialize in flowers and succulents.
Okay. What is a succulent? Explain that.
A succulent is a form of a cactus that is just a different type of cactus that very popular here in the desert. It does require a little more water than a cactus, but they are very beautiful and popular, and we can make some very nice arrangements that are a little less maintenance than the flower arrangements that we do.
So 63% of the people that move here in Arizona that purchased homes actually are from out of state. So I'm thinking about myself, I'm from New England. We have very, very different types of plants here. Talk to me a little bit about what we find here in the desert.
Well, in the desert, you have a lot of the similar plants that you can have in New England and the Midwest. You can have pansies, petunias, daisies. We have, a lot of the flower bulbs that you plant in the Midwest also work here.
So we'd see tulips, for instance.
Tulips, yes, you
Irises.
can have tulips. This time of year, we have it's nice because we actually start planting in October. And as long as you take care of it during the frost, which we're having this coming week, you can extend that growing time all the way into May. So you can get a lot of time with your flowers.
So my mom's a master gardener in New England, and she gardens 24/7. But my point is that she does change out her flowers a lot. Talk to me about the cycles here for seasons for flowers.
Okay, well, like I said, we start in October, and a lot of the nurseries have a large selection of flowers in October because that's right after the extreme heat of the summer, and people are already, it's like spring. And so we get everything planted anytime from October. It slows down a little bit November, December, January. The nurseries don't have quite as much selection. But you'd be surprised. There's still quite a selection, and then usually February, March, they start going crazy for spring, and we have a lot more selection available for planting.
I bought a rosemary plant at Trader Joe's this past summer, actually 4 of them, folks, and they died within just a couple of weeks. And when I went to one of the local nurseries and asked them about this, they pointed out that rosemary plant was probably created and planted initially in a hothouse where you had a very controlled environment. And of course, I go in and throw it into into pots, and it totally died because it just could not take the heat of the summer. Talk to me about how you overcome things like that.
Well, in the desert, a lot of times we have to move plants, and if it's in the ground, it's a little bit harder to do that. But if it's in a pot, we can find places around the house or even inside the house sometimes to move that plant, or if it needs, sometimes we can put a cover over it to protect it from the hot rays of the sun. But we can find places where it's a little bit cooler and it's not going to get the intense heat that you'd have. It depends what it's on. If it's on a hot paved patio, that heat is going to make it that much warmer for that plant harder for it to survive. So We just have to find a cooler place to put it during the summer months.
Oh, so.
And it's a good idea to plant them like now and let them get adapted and slowly work up to the heat, as opposed to buying something in July or August and planting it and then,
Shocking
that's
it
a
to
recipe
death.
for death right there.
That's exactly what happened, yeah. Well, you know, I am one of those people that can kill a cactus. I'm the daughter of a master gardener, yet I don't garden at all. So, you know, obviously the homeowners that you work for and the gardens and patios that you design, they must have different skill levels. You know, how do you deal with that?
Well, we talk to them right up front, and usually the pots and the gardens that we set up a drip irrigation so that every plant has a drip line running to it. And that makes it so much easier for the homeowner because they don't have to worry if it's getting the right amount of water. And a lot of our clients, we do a weekly maintenance. So we check the water every week, we deadhead the flowers, we cover for frost if necessary.
You must have had that happen this winter. We had some cold
well,
weather.
that's what I've been doing all morning is covering for some clients up north that they get quite a bit colder up there. So.
Right, right. Well, talk to me a little bit about homeowners. I mean, a new homeowner who hasn't really had to landscape much. I mean, they're down here in Arizona. What are some of the biggest mistakes you see people do?
Okay, well, one of those things we just talked about is, you know, maybe buying the plants in the summertime, and then it doesn't have time to adjust or grow. That would be one thing. And then also just not selecting the right plant for the right location for the home.
You're talking about light?
Yes, light, heat, sun. There's so many different things you need to consider with the right plant for the right area. There's plenty of things that will grow good in partial shade. And then there's a lot of things that will grow with, 6 hours of direct sun. So you really have to be selective and careful which flowers you put where.
So you must have a lot of people that do like potted plants so that you can move them around and be flexible. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, we don't necessarily have a lot of that because these pots that we're talking about have drip lines running to them from their irrigation system, so you can't really move them around too much.
Okay.
And they're very large and heavy. So.
Well, what type of things would you typically put in some of the, like, say, larger pots versus smaller pots?
Well, for instance, there's one here that we're looking at.
That's beautiful.
Take a look at later, but a larger pot like this is a wine barrel that you'll see. It has a larger piece in the back to give it some height, and then we have some smaller things and some trailing ivy off of the front. Which
I love that.
just makes it look really nice. And we have a certain color scheme. We'll look at the home and make recommendations based on the color of the home and the colors that they like. And in this case, these are the colors that this particular client liked. It's the deep reds and purples and whites to just really make the home look very inviting and increase the curb appeal if they're selling their home.
Right. Well, there must be a time frame for all of this. I mean, you can obviously start working with a client at any time, and based on that time of year, you'll pick plants appropriate to that weather. But when you do start planning, from planning to planting, what are we talking about for time frame?
It's generally a week or two.
Okay. Oh, that's fast.
It doesn't take that much time once I meet with someone to know exactly what I'm going to plant, and I have people helping me, so we can get it done pretty much usually within a day.
Oh, that's exciting. So what is your favorite flower? It's like, what's my favorite child,
Boy,
right?
that's really difficult to limit it to one flower.
What's one that you tend to use a lot with clients?
Well, we're using a lot of geraniums. Geraniums are good because they get really big. They give us the height that we need, and they are very tough. They can take a lot of the heat and a cold, and they don't have to be watered more than once a week.
Oh,
so
that's nice.
They're really adaptable and easy to grow here, as long as you give them the right lighting that they need. And so we use a lot of the pansies. They do good in both partial shade.
Now
and
those need to be
sun.
deadheaded. That I know.
Yes, and
That's-
so do the geraniums.
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so you're over here once a week taking care of the flowers, and because the homeowners probably aren't going to do it.
No.
I'm sure not going to do
No.
it.
That's what we love.
Yeah.
We do. We love to do it. And cyclamen are good because they grow in shade, and you have the brilliant reds and
Pinks and
pinks
yeah.
and whites, and so we plant
What
a lot
about
of
scent?
those.
You must be thinking. Do people think about like roses? How well do they do down here?
Roses do fantastic. In fact, a lot of the roses are grown for the whole country are grown in Litchfield,
You're
right here in
kidding me.
Arizona.
Litchfield
Yeah.
Park?
Yeah.
On the West Valley? Wow, I
There's
had
a
no idea.
huge rose farm there.
Nice.
So I just went to a rose workshop this week, and yeah, there's a tremendous amount of roses grown and sold
And they
planted
do okay
here.
in the summer.
They will do okay. They won't do, they're not going to be blooming and looking fantastic, but they'll make it through the summer, and they'll be beautiful in the spring and in the fall.
Right. I see a lot of bougainvillea around.
Yes, then those really
Did
are
I
not
say that right?
flowers.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Those are the flower. The color that you see on those are actually leaves.
Oh.
But yeah, that's a plant that is in the right location. It's a beautiful plant. It can be very messy, so
Oh, I've seen it over pools. Yeah,
Yeah,
in this
you
pedal
don't wanna
pool,
put it
right,
by a
with
pool.
floating on the top of the water. That would be a drag. Absolutely. Have the
Yeah.
kids clean that up.
Exactly.
So before I ask the last question, how can people reach you, Lisa?
Well, I can be reached through my cell phone, 602-826-3073. I also have a website that's under construction right now, and I have an Instagram that's Colorscapes _AZ, which I'm starting to put things on.
What parting words do you have for homeowners with regards to their landscaping?
Well, I would just say be very careful that you plant things in the right flowers if you're going to the nursery, that you have the right information on which direction your home is facing, what kind of light that it's getting, and as well as the heat that it's getting. And if you're looking at pots, large pots to put on your patio or make sure you're paying attention to the color and arrangement of those pots for your home, because I've seen people select pots that were just not really the right color to go with the architecture of their home, as well as putting the flowers in the pots that will complement the color of those pots. So I'd be happy to help anyone with consultation, to give them ideas, or to even do the planting and help make sure you have the right irrigation coming to those flowers. You may think that you'll water them every week, but oftentimes people forget, or they go out of town and they just don't get watered, and then you lose everything.
So much work, right?
It's really important to have the
Right.
right irrigation
Right.
and water coming to those plants, and on a timer with the right amount of time, a couple times a week, at least this time of year, a couple times a week, maybe more in the summertime.
Well, thank you very much for talking with me. And so everyone, I will post Lisa's contact information on the link here, but definitely give her a call if you need some help. And remember that curb appeal and how your home looks when you're trying to sell it is essential to attracting buyers to your property. You are competing against other homes for sale. So remember, the better it looks, the more likely you are to find a buyer. This is Jen Max at RE/MAX. We'll talk with you soon.